guys, and welcome back to my channel. Excuse the hair, I know I look like a poodle, but just ignore it. Anyways, I know today's video, as you read by the title, is a little bit different than my other videos, but I really have been wanting to make this for a couple of weeks now since I passed my NASM CES course. And to be completely honest, when I was sitting, I didn't really see any videos. I saw a lot more for CPT, which I have a video on as well. If you haven't checked it out, go check it out. It will be linked down below. But as I was saying, when I was studying for this one, I didn't see anybody else really posting about it. So I wanted to make my own for anyone out there who is currently maybe going through the course or thinking about going through it. Anyways, I know you guys came for the study tips and all of that, so let's just jump right into it. So I've been certified with NASM as a trainer for about 2 years now, but if you know, you know that in order for you to maintain your cert, you need to do continued education. That could be through, like, honestly, it doesn't have to be like specializations. It could be other little courses, but I really wanted to do my corrective exercise specialization. There's a lot of debate about getting specializations on top of your CPT, but to be honest, for me, I work at a big box gym, so it helps. And I found that through, like, I listen to a lot of fitness podcasts, and some of my favorite guys to listen to are Mind Pump from the podcast Mind Pump. So it's Sal, Adam, Justin, and Doug. And they always preach how if you're gonna get any specialization, the one they recommend the most is corrective exercise, just because honestly, guys, it's gonna enhance your ability to just like work with a wider range of clients and ages. Not only is it gonna help them in the long run, like just perform better, but their movement quality. Guys, we're only gonna get older, and you want to be able to just understand where your clients have like movement dysfunction, imbalances, and this is what basically the specialization really dives into, which is why I thought it was very like important to know. I know the CPT covers a little bit of like overactive, underactive muscles. This is more of a deeper dive into that. So with that being said, don't mind me looking down at my laptop. I wrote down some notes I don't want to forget, but with this course, it's a little bit different than your CPT. So I did the self-study, which gave me a year to take. I know for the CPT, it's 6 months. So this gives you a little bit longer. It gives you a year, and you have 3 chances at taking the exam, the final exam that you're supposed to score 70% or better. And the main thing that I saw people on like Reddit talking about was the fact that it is not proctored like the other ones. So that is true. You don't have to schedule your test and have someone, available to be watching you take the exam. So that kind of takes a little bit of like stress off your shoulders. However, don't get yourself fooled, because the time that you have to take the exam is a lot shorter than the others. You have 115 minutes, which, guys, it's not a lot of time. That's something that I'll get into a little bit later, but I am a very slow test taker myself, so I was already stressing over the fact that it was going to be cut half of what the CPT was. I took up the entire time when it was like the 3-hour long one. Along with that, I saw a lot of people saying that, oh, well, it's easy because you can look up the answers. And although that's true, you're able to use your book and kind of like, it's an open book test. I honestly, genuinely suggest you do not rely on that. I think that it's super important, first of all, to understand the material. But also, guys, you're not going to have that much time to be searching up answers. I think it works with like maybe a couple of vocab that you don't remember, little things here and there, but you do not want to be looking for answers during your test. The book is divided into 18 chapters, and each chapter is then obviously broken into different sections. I honestly read the entire book from page 1 to the very end. Honestly, guys, I recommend you do the same. I honestly, now that I took it and have passed it and have that kind of like stress out of the way, I am thinking of rereading it again and just kind of going slower with it this time to like really dive into it. But really just understand chapters 9 through 18. these are gonna go literally in depth with every muscle group, starting from your feet all the way to your head. You'll find that a lot of the material is repeated, but just make sure you are reading through and fully just like grasping the info. I think the trickiest part of it all is that when you're taking the test, you're going to have multiple choice answers that could potentially, technically all be correct, but NASM wants you to choose the one that they would choose, that they think would be like the best. So there's sections in the book where you will see helpful tip at like the top, and it'll be like a little box. And I swear, some of the questions get pulled from there because I remember specifically reading some of them and then popping up on my test. So if you have time to, at the end of like reading everything and studying, when you guys are reviewing for the exam, go back and like read those, because that's where you'll find a lot of what NASM would suggest. With the corrective exercise, obviously, you'll need to understand how to conduct mobility assessments with your clients. So know what is considered a pass, know what's considered a fail, and then how you will use corrective exercises to correct those imbalances. Along with that, know your types of stretching and when and where to apply them. Remember, you have inhibit, lengthen, activate, and integrate. So really understand each one of those steps and what goes in what. With this course, it's pretty straightforward, so just review all the tables from chapters, like I said, 9 through 18, I believe, because that's what the test is literally going to be. Practice on your friends. Honestly, we're going to go into more like the tips of what helped me. One of the main things is like, for me, I'm more of a hands-on learner, so reading the book, sometimes I get super caught up in like, wait, what? And have to read it again. Something that helped me was I would literally do the mobility assessments on my dad. Like, knowing that he has really stiff like chest muscles, I had him do a lot of the mobility assessments, and it just makes everything way easier to understand because you're seeing it in person. You're seeing how this person is affected because of their lack of mobility or whatever it may be. Going into more just like tips that helped me now. Sort of Healthy Trainer Education on YouTube, guys. He came in clutch when I was studying for my CPT one, and he came in clutch again. So I'm going to link these videos down below, but he has a study guide video and like PowerPoint that you can download on his channel. It literally just covers like the key points of every chapter. It's pretty lengthy, but what I did was I went through that video, paused it. Literally, it took me like 3 days to get through the hour-long video, and I just wrote down everything he said on a paper with like colorful pens because I love doing that. And this is kind of what I referenced back. Like, I loved this because I was able, you can take it anywhere when you don't want to take your whole ass laptop with your book. Another thing, because it's open book, I recommend you guys make a Google Doc, or you guys make something like this that you can keep on the side. Although I think it's even better to have a Google Doc because Command Find is going to be your best friend. I basically rewrote this on a Google Docs as well, and I added some of the tables that I felt like I would forget more often. And that way, if I knew that if I got a question on it, I could just use the Command Find search, like, what is it, shortcut, and look it up that way, or like type in keywords that would take me to where I needed to read. And same with the book, you're able to use obviously like the material in there. So if you're really stumped on something, just go in there, type in a keyword, it'll pop through, and hopefully you're able to just kind of like narrow it down. Use Command Find on every page as well, because it'll literally help you out so much in terms of like time. I will say the practice test was something that I knew wasn't going to be as similar to the real one, just because people had already said so, and based off of my experience with the regular like CPT, I knew that the practice exams they're not even close to what actually ends up being on the test. However, that being said, I still took the practice test, I want to say 3 times. First time I failed it, second and third time I got a passing score. Honestly, take them. Take it, especially if you have the time to. I don't think that you could go wrong with taking them, and plus you end up learning random little things, because a lot of the questions on the practice I noticed were completely random. They never even came up on the actual test. Kind of going back to what I was saying about it being tricky because certain questions while you're taking the test will have multiple answers that could be right. You want to make sure you're choosing the one that NASM will prefer. This is another reason why you want to use your book and you want to make sure you know your stuff, because yes, you can easily go and just like try to Google it and get the answer that way, but most of the time, sorry to break it to you, but it's going to give you the general answer, and that, my friends, is not always going to be the one that they want. I know this because when I was taking the practice exam, I did it for like a couple of questions and I got them wrong because I trusted my lovely Google. That leads me to the actual things I wanted to say about the test. Make sure you choose a spot that you feel you can concentrate in. I know everyone's different. For me, I know I concentrate and focus a lot better if it's super, super pitch quiet. I ended up doing it at my public library and it got a little loud towards the end. There was like, I didn't know there was an author coming in that day, and there was like little kids running around. Oh my gosh, I was low-key stressing. But yeah, second thing, read the questions slowly and carefully. If you aren't sure about a certain question, just skip it. Don't look at the time, because I feel like the time will just get you more anxious. Go on to the next. Answer all of the ones that you're pretty positive about, and I kept a little paper to my side with a pencil, and any question that I wouldn't leave blank but I wasn't necessarily super positive about, I would write down the number of the question, but I would still answer it. And then I had a list going on, because the ones you skip, you'll be able to see which ones they are, because it won't have the, I think it's like a little check mark on the side, so you won't miss any that weren't answered. But I knew that if at the end I had time, I can go back to those and just double, triple check it. Third thing I already kind of mentioned, but use that command find feature for your book and for your notes. It's gonna help you out so much. In your book, you're able to bookmark, you have a limit, I believe, but you're able to bookmark pages on there, and if you find that a chapter was really tricky, just bookmark that chapter so you can refer to it quicker when you're taking the test. A couple of questions that I kind of remember getting that I wanted to share with you guys as well, just so you guys know or have an idea of the types of questions you'll see. I remember one asking, for example, it said, so-and-so presented like a knee valgus compensation. Which of the following, and it had, I honestly don't remember the options, guys, but it said something like, which of the following would one choose as a beginning integration exercise for so-and-so? So in that case, you would want to do a ball wall squat with the mini band around the knees to kind of help with that valgus. Another question I remember them asking was something along the lines of, why does performing exercises behind the neck increase your risk for shoulder injury? So know that in case. Know like the types of mobility assessments that it's recommended. For example, for someone who demonstrates a posterior pelvic tilt during a squat. That's something that I saw a lot of. The hardest ones will be the ones where they'll ask you, what is the next logical step? Because you'll get something like, during the overhead squat assessment, Bob has like a super lordotic lumbopelvic hip complex. What is the next logical step? And it'll give you like 4 or 2 options that are technically like, they could be right, but again, reference a book, guys. I wouldn't say there's a specific like mobility test that they or at least my version of the test really like honed in on. So just know, for the most part, know all of the passes and fails for each one, just in case. But you can always reference a book, go back to that mobility chapter, and you should be okay. Just remember, you do have 3 chances, so don't worry. If you feel like, you know what, I've got this, just take a shot. Take it. You have 2 other times if you really need to, but I'm pretty positive you guys will pass your first time. If I passed, you guys can too. And if you guys have any other questions, or I might have missed honestly stuff here and there, leave a comment down below. I will get back to you, or message me on Instagram and I will reply there. Hope that you guys found this video somewhat helpful, and if any of you guys are just in the process of like deciding whether or not to specialize in corrective exercise, I genuinely think you should. I think that you're only going to gain more confidence when you're training your clients and all that. And plus, I do agree with the fact that out of all the specializations, this is probably the one that you'll get the most out of. And yes, if you haven't checked out my CPT one, make sure you go watch that. I will see you guys in the next video.